there's so much to discuss on this. So I limit down to two. Nikki Haley, another former Trump appointee. That's why I always laugh at Trump supporters. Mike Pence, he was appointed, he was part of Trump administration. Nikki Haley, part of UN, and they all ran this campaign. Tim Scott, Mike Pence, Nikki Haley. We are running against Trump, but we agree on Biden on everything. And Tucker Carlson asked a great question. Like, you're running against an eco-terrorist, the largest eco-terrorist in modern human history of Joe Biden. You guys realize when I say that, that is not exaggeration, right? The Nord Stream bombing has catastrophic effects for the climate, the environment, the earth. That water over there is ruined forever because of the Nord Stream bombing. So you would think people running against them, and I would pose this argument especially to NATO leftists like Marianne Williamson, right? Shouldn't you be calling out this eco-terrorist? Look at how Nikki Haley, who's not used to ever getting this question in mainstream media, look how she responded when Tucker Carlson asked her about that.
Who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline?
I mean, I don't know.
I'm not claiming you did it. I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Do you know who did it?
Seems pretty obvious. It was backed by the Biden administration, I would say. I mean, I think all the evidence suggests that, but I wasn't there. But I mean, that seems like a huge step. This is the largest industrial sabotage in history, sent more carbon in the atmosphere than any act ever. And like, there's weirdly no curiosity about who did it. And I think that's strange. What do you think?
There's a lot of things that are strange with the Biden administration. This is the first one.
I guess what I'm really saying is if you were running against the Biden administration, to do something like that and shaft our closest allies in the world, which would be Western Europe, and deprive them of the energy they need to run their manufacturing sector and destroy their economy, which it is in the process of doing, like, that's a major sin to have done something like that. You just betrayed our allies, and no one on the right is accusing the Bidens of what they clearly did. So I don't know why.
Man, why can't this be on regular TV? Listen, they are. Did they have to talk to Tucker Carlson? Like, I don't understand
I don't know why they did this.
It's like, this is crazy. Like, if I would have heard him talking to her, I would have been like, no, I'm not going out there. Like, this is crazy that he's bringing up these issues, and this is the reason why he was removed from TV. Yeah, and I believe the January 6th stuff was probably the last straw. Him defending the socialist, the Huru movement, like all of those things. But these types of questions is the reason why he's off the air. Like, bringing up directly asking Nikki Haley, who is literally one of the people who is walking that line of being a neocon, making sure she's staying like, hey, what's up with the Nord Stream pipeline, and to see her reaction. Like, you can, they like, this is not like, supposed to be asking for like company. Question. What are you doing? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna get Jimmy's thought on this as well, but you can see how shocked she is because no one in corporate media will ever ask this question about the Nord Stream. And if you're running against Joe Biden as president, you should bring up the fact that he's the largest eco-terrorist in modern human history, probably of all time. Like, that's not even an exaggeration. And that's what Tucker Carlson brings up. And look how shocked she is. I love this clip so much. Tucker is giving us gold. Like, and I got a lot of disagreements with Tucker. You guys know it. I made multiple videos roasting this guy. But why is it him? Why is he giving us this gold? We don't have access to these people. I don't have access to these people. There's no way we'll be allowed to do this. But there's many people who have a chance to do this. There are many people who have access to Mike Pence, to Nikki Haley, that don't do this. Tucker Carlson is giving these gems of a clip. So I want to see a reaction one more time when on the follow-up question.
I guess what I'm really saying is, if you were running against the Biden administration,
I just watched it again.
Who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline?
I mean, I don't know.
I'm not claiming you did it. No. I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Do you know who did it?
Seems pretty obvious. It was backed by the Biden administration, I would say. I mean, I think all the evidence suggests that, but I wasn't there.
Why is that your reaction if you're running against Joe Biden? Because why do you feel you have to cover this up? This shows that this is an entire establishment thing that's going on here. That there's a game that everyone playing, right? Anyway, let's move on to the next clip just for a second time. Anything else you guys want to chime in on that clip before we move on? This is the last one that I have to bring up because I'm trying to bring up the most interesting ones I found. So any last response on the clip on Nord Stream before we move on?
Like you said, everybody's playing their role. You know, everybody's playing the role to get their people amped up and whatnot, ready to vote during these times. They all get some type of strip that they are meant to say. So when they come across the motherfuckers who ask them questions like this, they are not ready for that type of shit. You know, they're not ready to answer who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Because it's not only that they are not ready to answer something like that, they agree with blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. Yep. They would have did it themselves if they would have had it, you know, because they know all of them work for Raytheon and CIA, FBI, whatever the fuck alphabet boys they
Well, so what was her response when Tucker asked her, why isn't there an attack from the right on Joe Biden for doing this?
I need to find a longer clip. I didn't see the full clip. I definitely need to watch.
Oh, okay. I would love to know what her answer.
I wish that clip would include her response, to be honest, because it's a good question. Because it's a fantastic question. Fantastic question. Last clip that I want to show you guys here is Tucker asking DeSantis. I want to see if I can find it. I'm gonna see if I can find a longer clip after this one. But this is Tucker asking DeSantis regarding Julian Assange. So this is the last clip I found. Now I'll definitely show. So let's
regime in place during the last presidential election, and by the way, I think it remains in place in the federal agencies, telling information providers, the social media companies, what they can and cannot run. No one's been held accountable. Meanwhile, Julian Assange is still in prison thanks to our efforts. Would you pardon him, and would you hold those people who are violating the First Amendment accountable?
So these people that violated the First.
Once again, amazing question. Why Tucker Carlson has to be one? Just stick up to Julian Assange. Jimmy, I remember, and I hope I'm not getting this correct, Miss Craig. It was either you or Glenn Greenwald who convinced Tucker Carlson to support Julian. Am I getting that correct?
Well, when I was on with Tucker, and he said, you know, I changed my mind on Julian Assange based partly on the strength of your argument. That's what he said to me. That's I think a verbatim quote. Yeah. So I'll take credit.
Yeah, that's base.
But Jimmy, you're not supposed to go on Fox News. What do you get out of it, Jimmy? What do you get out of it? I mean, I think even Tucker even credited like Cornel West about socialism, like spinning him a little bit on socialism. But why are you guys going on this right-wing network for what? It's nothing tangible you get out of it. It's just it's unserious argument. Like you're not supposed to talk. Like this proves the point that we all make. The only way to get people convinced of doing something is you have to engage with people that you disagree with, or you may disagree with on other things. Then you find out, oh, we have common ground on this. Oh, you know what? I never heard that point, Jimmy. That's a good point. Now you flip me on Julian Assange. You see, this is why you communicate. Maybe that's the reason, Jimmy, they don't want us to communicate, because they know some people will be flipped.
That's exactly,
CJ. We already proved this point, and they were so gleeful about it and so happy about it when Bernie Sanders went on Fox News and had the motherfuckers clapping for socialism. They know this already. They don't want us to have that access, you know what I'm saying, to actually teach people. They want people, you know, put in place.
Yeah, they don't want people to communicate. That actually helps them. That's why we asked the question, who does your methods or ideology serve? The ideology where we don't talk to people, that clearly serves the establishment. That's why I see people who consider themselves anti-establishment, consider themselves anti-socialist or communist, who advocate shit that is not in our best interest. That makes no sense to me. I give it no creditation when they say that people like Jimmy and Dr. Cornel West and other people shouldn't go on Fox News, the largest cable show of all time. That's clearly them trying to lead us off a cliff. Why are we even entertaining stupid bullshit like that? That's why when people are like, oh my God, why you have Jimmy on? Why you have Glenn on? Well, I don't entertain that stupid shit because it's not in our best interest not to close ourselves off from conversation, right? And Glenn Greenwald, it was Jimmy Dore who flipped Tucker Carlson on Julian Assange. I remember now Glenn Greenwald, who was talking to Tucker Carlson about the Uhuru Black Socialist Movement. And for real, check out the interview. At the very end, Tucker Carlson says, based on what you say about them, I like them. And I believe that shit got him fired. That is what I'm saying. He got fired because he said he like a black revolutionary socialist movement. What fucking Fox News host was ever saying shit like that? What MSNBC host is saying that?
What advertisements is saying?
And that and all this includes all my criticism of Tucker Carlson. But the question
then they say, well, what's the value in switching Tucker Carlson? Tucker Carlson has millions of people. Tucker Carlson may talk about it other times now that he's flipped. He'll talk about it more often, and now the word is getting out to more people. This is the reason why I think why the divide and conquer thing is such a thing they hold their hat onto, because if we don't talk, we don't break down walls, and breaking down walls to hold hands against them. That's essentially what they don't want to have happen. But it's clearly, I mean, just think, Jimmy, all the people they told you not to talk to. If you didn't talk to Tucker, if you didn't talk to, I forget his name from Proud Boys, the guy from Proud Boys, but you find out he was
no, it was a Boogaloo Boy. Which is a totally different thing than Proud Boys, and that's why they conflated those two things. And the Boogaloo Boys was a response to the Proud Boys. They were anti-racist, they were anti-war, they were anti-cop, and we agreed, and they were pro-LGBTQ. And so I'm like, shit, we agree on like 5 out of 10 things, and that's what they don't want us to know. That was a perfect example. I never got more pushback on anything I've ever done when I interviewed a Boogaloo Boy, and I let people know that you don't have to be afraid of these people, that we have a lot of things in common against the establishment. That was never a bigger pushback in my life, and so that's what the establishment scared. That is the only thing that scares the establishment, Jimmy, is people. That's if you look at Christian Smalls in Staten Island, I can always bring it up because it's true. He organized with Trump voters against Jeff Bezos and the establishment, and he won. And that's the only thing that scares people.
Jimmy, I still get pushed back. They came out to one of my events for Tour for the Poor out in Detroit. And I was like, okay, well, now that y'all here, let me tell y'all, because my whole thing is revolution over anything. So if you guys want to be, if it's a bunch of white boys with guns, I know exactly where to put y'all, And we had that conversation about, actually fighting and preparing for a revolution,
See, I actually didn't know that, Rome. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I actually didn't know that, because there's a point I make all the time. Like, you had Crystal Ball like criticizing the quote unquote online left. I'm like, that's you. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, where's Crystal Ball at Tour for the Poor? Where's the progressives at Tour for the Poor? And I'm bringing this up because I didn't know that. You breaking news to me. Like, you got fucking Boogaloo Boys showing up for the Tour for the Poor, but not the boutique left, not the NATO left. But meanwhile, they call us the online left. Meanwhile, they're nowhere to be found on the streets. Meanwhile, we can continue this clip here. So many more things to say, but I'll move on. I'll just move on just for the sake of time. Let's play the part where he mentioned Julian Assange. And remember, Tucker Carlson changed his mind because he's speaking to the left on this issue, right? It was Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald that was bringing up, and Aaron Monte was also on the show who bring up Julian Assange. And this is why he asked this question to Ron DeSantis. So now we actually didn't hear his response. So let's hear what Ron DeSantis had to say.
Providers, the social media companies, what they can and cannot run. No one's been held accountable. Meanwhile, Julian Assange is still in prison thanks to our efforts. Would you pardon him, and would you hold those people who are violating the First Amendment accountable?
So these people that violated the First Amendment, they need to be held accountable for that. People died as a result of that because they were censoring truthful information about COVID, that if people would have adopted those policies, the country would have been better off. Individual states would have been better off. And so I think it had a profound effect. The fact that they censored dissent on COVID meant some kids got locked out of school for a year. The fact that they censored dissent on COVID meant that some people took some of these booster shots when they didn't need to, and they ended up having an adverse reaction. So it had major, major impact. So I think not just with the censorship, I think everything involving COVID, I think there needs to be major, major accountability, because if there's not, if you don't have a reckoning, they are going to do it again. They are going to do it again. Now, in terms of using pardon, my goal is to end the weaponization of government. And that involves firing people. It involves taking parts of the DOJ and putting them in other states. Iowa, if you guys want a part of the DOJ, I'll send it out here, send it to Alabama, wherever. And we're going to do that. We're going to take power out of Washington. But part of what you need to do, if you have a two-tiered system of justice, you need to make sure if there's some people that got away that shouldn't have, they need to face the music. And if there are other people that are getting targeted through abuse of government, then there needs to be use of the power. So the day after the election, we're going to open up an ability.
He's doing the classic Marianne Wilson technique, where he's talking so long he hope you forget the question. So let's see if he answer it.
That's what they do on Twitter. They say something very unpopular, but it'd be like 50 fucking tweets of a thread. I ain't reading that fucking shit. Fuck you.
Let's see if he answered the question. Let's see.
For people to submit applications, ask for the pardon based on whether they were treated dissimilarly or whether the government mobilized against them. And so we're going to do it the front end of the administration. I'm not going to wait till my last day in office. Do it the front end. And if people are doing that, and that's part of ensuring a single standard of justice, we will be willing to use the pardon power. It's going to be done on a case-by-case basis because I'm a governor and I've actually had to look at these things, and you owe it to everybody to do that. But we will be issuing pardons, and that'll be determined based on the facts and circumstances at the time.
That was terrible. And Tucker just sits quiet and lets you look stupid. He just sits quiet.
I actually, to be fair,
continue to talk. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, CJ, but to be fair, I didn't see the follow-up question, so I'm actually curious to see what he says at this point. I didn't make it past his bullshit answer. I'm like, dude, are you gonna answer the guy? I literally rage quit before I got to this point. Like he hoping that Tucker forgets to ask the follow-up question. You guys see what the politicians do? Like at that point, he hope you completely forgot about the question. So I'm legitimately curious. I'm gonna see if Tucker asks the follow-up. I don't know. Let's see.
We know that the U.S. government reads the private communications of American citizens by the tens of millions without a warrant. And everyone knows this. It's been revealed. They've admitted it. And no one has moved to stop it. Do you think that there's a good reason to allow this?
Come on, man.
He let him off the hook.
Man. See, now his response to Tim Scott was brilliant when but now that was kind of weak, Tucker. He let him off the hook there, but he probably fell for it. He probably fell for it because the politician speaks a lot to make you forget. He probably forgot the question. Like Tucker probably forgot that he asked him about Julian Assange. That's what the politician does. But anyway,
basically what he said about Julian Assange, what they say about reparations, we'll look into it. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what he's saying. Like, oh, we're going to do about case by case. What the fuck? Is you going to pardon my nigga or not?
Go ahead. Let's continue. We can finish this clip and we wrap this segment up.
How can that be?
No. I mean, I think the federal government has a responsibility to protect us from foreign threats. We're going to have intelligence capabilities overseas, but to turn those on our own citizens, especially with this government's behavior, is totally untenable. I am going to go in and declassify or put as much stuff out as I can. I think that you guys have a right to know things that happened 60, 70 years ago that the government's kept under wraps. Now, obviously, if things that are more recent, if there's stuff, I mean, you have to make those judgments. But my default is going to be that they're going to have a high burden to justify why it shouldn't be.
All right, so I think he successfully dodges the Julian Assange question, which tells us his answer, guys. If he's going to pardon Julian Assange, he's going to tell us.
Yeah,
like, that's definitely a popular position you want to lean on. So he doesn't tell us, so we got the answer, right? So
I've never seen a person put fear in these Republican candidates the way I've never seen them being interviewed by anybody else, where they literally look antsy. They look like, man, I can't wait to get off of here. Let me say a bunch of stuff so my time runs out and get off of here. Like I've never seen them look so afraid, and that's maybe that's the reason why. One part of the reason why Tucker was removed from the air, but it's turning out to work out better for him and his show that he's getting a lot more viewers on Twitter. It sounds like so. Yeah, see how that works out.
I still once again I have no idea why they agreed to do this. So because and now we've seen why it made no sense whatsoever. Because it was like I feel like it was the Blaze that hosted this, right? I feel like they could easily say no to the Blaze. Am I underestimating how big the Blaze is? I feel like they could nah, I'm not doing that. but I don't know. They thought they were going to sweet talk Tucker in the audience. I don't know if they're not looking at data at all. So if you look at this poll, it says since the Russian invasion, Republicans have grown increasingly skeptical of the United States aid level to Ukraine. So Mike Pence, Tim Scott, what primary are you running in? Because if you look at this graph, Democrats all for funding and supporting Nazis in Ukraine, right? But if you look at this part of the graph here, half of the Republicans in the beginning was like, I guess we're good with the Ukraine war. Over about a year and a half later, that number's triples in the other direction, damn near. Where only like 30% of Republicans, according to this graph, agree with Ukraine funding, while majority is against Ukraine funding. And it completely flipped on the Democrat side. The graph is very weird looking at it, but you can see the Republicans are mostly against it. So why are they not looking at data? No, that's not the case. You guys think they got a team that's slacking and they don't know this? Their job is not to win the primary. Mm-hmm. Their job is to change these numbers. Mm-hmm. Their job is trying to pull Republicans back to the empire position. And thank God Tucker Carlson not allowing them to do it. Not allowing them to do it. That's why it's bizarre that they decided to do this. But anyway, Jimmy, CJ,
you can look on both sides of the aisle. Democrats and Republicans aren't doing anything but promising you war, trying to push war or sell you war on both sides. This is all a part of their strip. Like they have nothing else to give. They have nothing else to what they gonna say? Medicare for all? What the fuck are Republicans gonna say? What the fuck? Like, come on now. We are trying to maintain power. You know what I'm saying? They have to get out there and convince people that killing people is right. Is going to benefit them. They have to sell this war. Democrats and Republicans.